And just as a solo independent traveler, if I'm engaging with indigenous communities, what should I know?
Right. The travelers who are going into indigenous areas or indigenous communities need to know the etiquette for dealing with those indigenous people. And usually they can find rules of etiquette in those communities. If not, the travel agencies should assist them. It's always travel agencies, and let me start that over. Tour operators, travel agencies, and I'll start over again. I got that cough in my ear.
Do you mind just moving a little bit more to, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
We have a group of travelers called pre and independent travelers, and they usually make their own arrangements to go and find their own destinations, how to get there, what to do when they get there. There's a difficult task in educating those travelers because they are free and independent, but somehow they must learn the rules of etiquette wherever they go. And there are always rules of etiquette when going into indigenous communities. There is another category of travelers.
You can tell me what those rules of etiquette are, if you know.
Okay, by rules of etiquette, I'm talking about things like asking permission before you take photographs, not going into sacred ceremonies, not doing any damage to the plants, the flora and the fauna, not picking up any rocks or especially any antiques that you might find lying on the ground, which do exist in indigenous communities. So those are the kind of rules of etiquette that we're talking about.
How can travelers be more respectful when it comes to photographing indigenous peoples?
You can be more respectful in photographing by asking what the rules of engagement are with the community. Some communities require that you get a permit from the tourism agency in that community. Others ask that you be respectful and ask the subject of your photography whether or not it's okay to photograph them. In other words, get permission from your photographic subjects. And very often you won't have any difficulty if you ask for permission. And that's a true fact. The people tend to be a bit disrespectful in that regard, just snapping pictures. And usually it's okay if it's a background picture or a large group. But if you're doing individuals, you best ask permission. There are quite a number of other rules of suggested conduct, and those are what I'm calling the rules of etiquette. And I know they exist. I've published them myself.
Didn't know if that was us. Go on.
The rules of etiquette end up being just common consideration, common respect. But a lot of people don't have that common respect and common consideration, so they have to be told. And I want to say that many of the travelers that you see around, the tourists, they arrive at a destination through the work of travel agencies, tour operators, and other agencies. It's the responsibility of those agencies that bring them to your communities to inform them of what the rules of etiquette are, the rules of conduct. So it is the responsibility of travel agencies, tour operators, it's the responsibility of travel agencies and tour operators to inform the travelers of what the rules of etiquette are for the destinations of their travelers. But they very often don't do that. They'll give general information about the destination, but generally not the rules of conduct. So that should change in the future.